So the other thing I was going to talk to you guys about today was something new that popped up just last week, sort of. I won't say it was out of the blue, wasn't really on my radar though, but I thought I would explore it together with you guys. And that something is a new piece of software, courtesy of Orbx, called Volanta. So Volanta is basically a logbook system for your simulator. The big idea behind it to be a very hands-off simulator logbook for your simulator. So that I think is the key, is that they want to be very hands-off. You basically automatically detect a lot of things. So I just downloaded it last night, and I have not really done anything with it. So we're going to kind of explore it together here and see what it can do. So this is the home page here. I really didn't do anything other than start the software, and it already detected all sorts of information about me here. So it detected the aircraft we're using. It didn't detect the call sign. Looks like I can type that in manually. Yes, I can. I see, and I don't even know. Like I said, I have not used this software yet. This is my first time really getting into the software. It automatically detected where we left from. It detected that we started in USM and we started at Winnipeg. So add a flight plan, or don't use a flight plan. I guess we can add a flight plan. Import file, paste to root, sim brief. Can't do it. My guess is that I probably have to configure it to know who I am. So let's see here if there's a way to do it. So there's your active flight. This is not my active flight at all. We are not here. We are way over here somewhere. I'm guessing because I didn't actually set this up properly, it didn't automatically check in. So let's see what we can find here. Connections. Authenticate with Navigraph, SimBrief. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this away because I don't want you guys to see what I'm doing over here, but I'm going to authenticate my Navigraph to see what it lets me do here. And log me out for some reason. Probably lack of activity, but it logged me out, so I'm going to log in again here. Oh, it's logged into the web browser. So it switched me over into the web browser now. It's obviously tightly integrated, so it's a desktop app, but it's also tightly integrated with the web browser. I'm going to try and authenticate with Navigraph and see what it does. And it has to open a pop-up. Needs my login information. So I wonder if I'll be able to access the charts then through Volanta. As I said, this is me. This is literally first impressions. This is first time I've really looked at this software. So it's making connection. All right, so I made a connection. I put in my password and everything, and now so it has revoked. So it's logged into Navigraph. And then the other thing you could do is put in information for SimBrief. So I'm going to put in my SimBrief username and my VATSIM ID as well. Alright, so I've updated all of that. So I updated my connection. So now let's see if I go back to my map. If I want to add a flight plan, aha, I can now import from SimBrief, or because I put in my VATSIM user ID, I can also import from VATSIM. So let's import from SimBrief. It says we're now going to Vancouver, and our alternate was Comox if we miss in Vancouver. Briefing, and if you hit briefing in your web browser, it brings up your flight plan, your PDF of your flight plan from SimBrief. Great. Pre-file. VATSIM Pilot Edge Postcode, so you can pre-file. Nice, simple. SimBrief will already do that for me. But look, now my route is drawn on here. Nice. Let's see here. Now, why? Simulators. This is probably why. I don't know what enable auto launch will do. I'm learning. I hope I don't screw up the stream here. So why is it not recognizing that? So why does it not recognize where we are? Because it seems to think we're still on the ground in Winnipeg, which is not the case at all. We are halfway to Vancouver by now. So how? Flights, aircraft, challenges, statistics, achievements, flights. So you can search for airports or users. You can have friends. I don't understand how to get it to connect to my simulator. Interesting. I don't know why it's not detecting. It detected where we were, and then it won't, it doesn't seem to recognize that we've moved from Winnipeg yet. Okay, click to view flight. I'm clicking to view it. So you can type in various things here to do this. I don't know why, though. Alright, so I'm going to try closing it. Hopefully it didn't just minimize it to the tray. Stand by one moment here. Just making sure it did minimize it to the tray. So we're going to shut it down and we're going to try to restart it here. And just see if perhaps it'll recognize the flight when it's restarted. So I don't know anything about the software. This is literally my first time really using it. It seems... Alright. So it knows what aircraft we're using. But it doesn't seem to want to connect to the simulator. This seems to be a bit of a problem. Now, why is it not connected to the simulator? And how do I force it to connect to the simulator? I don't know. I just don't know why it's not working here. Oh, there we go. Aha! Is this us? There we are. Okay. So my active flight. So I'm just going to scroll away from this. If I click on this little compass thing here, it should find us, but it didn't. It recognizes where we... It has the flight plan on here. It had us our VATSIM profile. It did, I think. No, now we're gone. This is not us, is it? No, that's not us. I don't know where we are. So, yeah. It reminds me a lot right off the bat of Sim Toolkit Pro. Very, very similar to Sim Toolkit Pro. So I don't know what to... I don't know how to make it work here. Honestly, it's the first time. It seems very intuitive. It's just I don't see anything of a way to connect to the sim. So it should be monitoring my flight. I imported my flight. It even recognized that the aircraft was there. It recognized where we were, but it doesn't seem to want to connect to the simulator for some reason. I don't know if I have to start... Or is it? See, there we are, but if I zoom out... No, now it seems to have figured out where we are. Yeah, your active flight. Click to view flight. So it seems like there's still some glitches to work out here, but it seems to have recognized where we are. So this is us here. I'm not sure what the different colors are. I think they might be different networks. So if I remove... Blue is Volanta airplanes, so airplanes that are only in Volanta. Some of these gray airplanes are VATSIM airplanes. FS Cloud I'm going to remove. Pilot Edge I'm going to remove. VATSIM ATC coverage you can have or not, which is great. So there's some VATSIM ATC coverage. We don't have any for us. Boo! Oh, we do have a tower in Vancouver. Oh, good, good. So we will have something. Airports, major active airports, minor airports, helipads. So it'll draw all sorts of things on here as you go. So blue is the Volanta pilots only that are not part of any other network. Aha, okay. So there is a little map overlay so you can change what's displayed on your map. You can have friends. So I don't have any friends apparently. But you can have friends. There's a logbook feature so you can track all of your all of your flights and see where you've been and have a nice little map of all the flights in your logbook. You can keep track of your current flight, and you can also generate routes, pre-file them and everything, so that's kind of useful. You can have a database of aircraft, so it's automatically created one aircraft because I have one aircraft on this route, so I have one aircraft in my fleet. And one of the other neat things, of course, is there's something called challenges, which is a bunch of different things that you can do if you're bored, you don't know what to fly. There's a couple different things. So one of the most popular air routes in the world, fly Melbourne to Sydney, and then you get the Got Milk achievement. So the milk run from Melbourne to Sydney, Miami to Ibiza, fly from Miami to Ibiza. So there's a bunch of different challenges in here, and a country challenge, how many countries around the world have you visited. So there's some interesting stuff in here to kind of inspire you to fly. It's not too different from Sim Toolkit Pro, to be honest. So useful things that it will do as well, and I was looking at this, my data. So what you can do is you can import from other different tracking systems. So you can import from Sim Toolkit Pro, Project Fly, or the multiplayer network, so VATSIM or IVEO. You can import your stats from VATSIM or IVEO, recent flights from there. So what I did before I started the stream, just because I ran this, was I decided let's try and import stuff from Sim Toolkit Pro. Apparently it uploaded all my information and nothing more has happened yet. As you can see here in my list of flights, it's still 0, and I have about 300 flights logged in Sim Toolkit Pro. So that's something that other people have expressed to me as well. I talked to a few other people about it, and they said, yeah, I tried to import my flights and it doesn't seem to work. So there seem to be some issues with this import. Specifically Sim Toolkit Pro, they were trying to import from Sim Toolkit Pro, and it didn't seem to want to work. App settings, flight planning, you can just get your briefing format and your kilograms. About, there's not too much really in here. It's a fairly simple system right now. I imagine they'll add more features in the future, but this is sort of annoys me that it's not done. So it's uploaded and queued. I'm going to try this again in another, in another couple hours and see if it's loaded my data. But if it hasn't loaded my data by tomorrow, I'm going to assume it's not working properly. And I read that in the forums that there were some things that said that because Sim Toolkit Pro is storing most of your data in their cloud now, Volanta can't access it. Volanta tries to upload files from your computer, but they don't exist on your computer anymore because Sim Toolkit Pro switched to a cloud-based storage system to back up your files. So someone said that was a problem, and they had to actually use an older version of Sim Toolkit Pro to generate the data that Volanta could then use, which is annoying. So it doesn't seem to me that different from Sim Toolkit Pro. One thing, it does seem to run a little smoother. It seems to be less processor intensive. I can bring my apps over here. Even without Sim Toolkit Pro at the 4, it's using about 5% of my processor, whereas Volanta is averaging about 3 to 4. So Sim Toolkit Pro it's a bit more of an intense piece of software. It does more stuff, so it definitely is using up more processor power all the time. This seems to be like a Sim Toolkit Pro Lite almost. If you just want the logbook function, that seems to be what this software will really function as well. It won't do the other things that Sim Toolkit Pro does. I don't see any charts or anything anywhere. Sim Toolkit Pro will have departure and arrival charts, flight planning. They have a whole flight schedule database in there. I don't know what information we can store about our aircraft, if any. Statistics and flights, that's all we have. So it's just information about that airplane. So we'll see what it looks like after a flight or two here. We can upload an image. So we can have an image for our aircraft. Interesting. Again, this really reminds me of Sim Toolkit Pro. Not that different. The interface is perhaps a little bit more just smooth. Sim Toolkit Pro is a little bit becoming almost too big. Too much stuff, doing too much stuff at the same time. This is a bit of a simpler interface. Still seems like it has some challenges though. Like I said, like the import function does not seem to be functioning yet, or at least certainly for Sim Toolkit Pro log import. And it seemed to have some problem initially kind of connecting to the server, or to the simulator, and recognizing where we were. See, now this is all it's recognized for this flight, even though the flight was going a while ago. Perhaps because we didn't have a complete flight with a destination, it didn't want to log it, but yeah, it didn't seem to want to recognize that anything was happening with this flight for a while. So, this is Volanta. Take it for what it is. I don't know, it has some potential, but it seems like it's still got some glitches in it that need to be worked out. Not sure that it's going to be something I'm going to switch to on a regular basis. The challenges seems like a neat idea, but again, I'm not usually huge into challenges. I usually have no shortage of ideas for flights in my own mind. So if you're struggling to find things to do in your simulator, then this might be for you. The other thing about Volanta that might make it a little more interesting for a lot of people is that it also runs as a web app as well. So fly.volanta.app will show you more or less the same things that appear in the app here. So you've got almost all the same stuff. You've got the settings in there. It runs just as a web app in your browser instead of as a desktop app. Of course, if you're running it just in your browser, it won't be able to track your flight sim. So you'll need to run the desktop version anyways, but an interesting way to perhaps track on another computer what you're doing. Or at least, and the other thing perhaps is to have remote access to your logbook. So if you're not at home, you can still have a look at your logbook and plan things. So that's Volanta. That's my first impression of it. Not hugely impressed at this time. Seems like a simplified version of SimToolkit Pro. It has a lot of the same functionality, and without the import function working, it's not going to be very useful to me in the long term. Their biggest thing seems to be striving for simplicity. It detected most of this information with very little effort from me, even a little bit less effort than SimToolkit Pro requires. But seems like their sim connection has a little bit of an issue. Seems like, seems like their importing has issues still. So until that gets worked out, it's probably not going to be for me. But that's what it looks like nevertheless.